Evan watched Crystal walk down the stairs in her satin gown, her face glowing, and his heart compressed. God, but he loved her. His hands shook at the thought she'd be uttering her wedding vows in front of a minister and a huge congregation of family and friends in a very short time. Too short a time. He'd spent all last night thinking about it, realizing this was his last chance. If he didn't do something now, then the events that had been so long in the planning would proceed, and the future would be set. And he would be miserable. He had to talk to her. He had to tell her how he felt, explain why he hadn't told her sooner, why he was ruining her wedding day, and probably ruining their relationship forever. But he had to do something, because in less than an hour she would marry another man, Evan's best friend. And Evan couldn't let that happen without speaking up and telling her how much he loved her, because maybe, just maybe, she felt the same way about him. No matter what Evan did, his friendship with Brent was probably over. And certainly, if Crystal turned Evan down, oh God, please don't let her turn me down, things would always be strained between them. But he had to know he could not spend the rest of his life regretting not telling her, not at least reaching out for the happiness he so desired, being with the only woman he had ever loved. She laughed at something her older sister Renee said to her, and then they both disappeared into the study. The wedding was taking place at her family home, a big, old, sprawling house on the lake with a couple of acres surrounding it. The groom wouldn't arrive for another 30 minutes, so Evan knew he had to make his move now. Damn it, he wished he'd talked to her sooner. He'd had months to speak up, but he hadn't wanted to do anything to hurt his friendship with Brent or to potentially hurt Crystal's happiness. But as the wedding had drawn nearer, he realized that his happiness was every bit as important as Brent's, and Crystal deserved to know how Evan felt about her. She might turn him down, but at least she would be offered the choice. If she chose Brent, Evan would understand, no matter how much it shattered his chance at happiness. He would respect her choice, but he had to at least offer that choice. His hands shook, and he curled them into fists. Renee left the study, and Evan took a step forward. For a split second, thoughts of abandoning this insane idea flashed through his brain, but he quelled them and took another step, then another, until he was almost at the door. "Hey, Evan, you look absolutely dashing in that tux." His gaze shot to Renee, who walked toward the door with a glass of water in her hand. Are you taking that in to Crystal?" he asked, feeling like an idiot asking the obvious. She grinned. "Yeah, you look as nervous as the groom probably does." "It's a big day," he said, repeating what he'd heard echoed around him all morning. He'd been here for 2 hours helping to set up and hoping to get a chance to talk to Crystal, but she'd been off to the hairdresser, then holed up in her room getting ready. He had never intended to leave it to the final moments to talk to her. "Do you mind if I take it in?" he asked. "I wanted to talk to her before things begin." "Want to wish her luck?" She handed him the glass. "Sure, go ahead. I'll go find the bouquets and distribute the boutonnieres to the guys." "Great, thanks." Renee turned and headed toward the big country kitchen at the front of the house. Evan sucked in a deep breath, then knocked on the door.